and happiness coach, motivational speaker, and your host of Happy and Healthy, where we explore and discover all the many ways of keeping you feeling happy and healthy. And remember to catch my segment at the end of each show called Good to Know, where I've always got something really good to share with you. And today I've got a great guest who will share with us all about relaxing and enjoying nature, especially during these times. We could all really use it, right? So please welcome my guest today, Melanie Choukas-Bradley. She's an award-winning nature book author and a certified nature and forest therapy guide. So please welcome my guest, Melanie. Hi.
Hi, Nira. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here with you today.
Oh, I'm so glad that we can make this this interview work today, and especially during this time of COVID, when people really need different tools in their tool belt of life, as I call it, of getting through the day, the week, you know, just to get through things. So you are a forest bathing specialist and expert. And I just wanted to first start off with maybe you could just explain, like, what is forest bathing?
Yeah, so forest bathing, it's not taking a bath in the forest. What it is, and you don't actually need to go to the forest. It's something you can do anywhere. You can do it in your backyard, a neighborhood park or garden, anywhere where there's natural beauty around you. And the whole idea is to slow down, breathe deeply, and tune into the beauty and wonder around you with all your senses. That's all there is to it, really. It's a very simple practice, but it's one, as you said, especially in the time we're living in now, it really brings comfort and joy to just let go of your cares of the day, let go of all the headlines, and tune into the beauty around you. And we have such beauty here in our city and all around Montgomery County, and just beautiful parks and wonderful trees and places to bathe in the forest.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into it, can you explain, like, what are the origins, like, as a relaxation mode? Like, how did it start?
Well, it started in Japan in the 1980s. It's a term, forest bathing is translated from the Japanese shinrin-yoku, and that was coined by the forestry agency in Japan. Especially people living in cities in Japan were very stressed. And in Tokyo, people work even longer hours than people work in our area. And Tokyo is a very intense urban environment. So the forestry agency just started encouraging people to go out into the forest, to sit under the trees, to lie under the trees, to hug the trees, to sit by the water, breathe all the wonderful smells coming up from the earth and from all the the woods around them. And it became incredibly popular in Japan, and it has since become popular all around the world. It's just something that resonated, this idea of slowing down and tuning in with all your senses. It just resonated all around the world. So it's a very popular practice all over the world. My book, The Joy of Forest Bathing, which is right behind me here, it's been translated into Spanish and Finnish in Finland. And that just gives you an idea of how popular it is all around the world.
Wow. So I'm just curious. I want to hear more about it, but I'm just curious if you could tell me briefly, like, how did you get into it yourself?
Well, I actually read an article that one of my students, I teach about nature. I lead all kinds of nature walks and teach classes and so forth. And one of my students brought me an article from Oprah's magazine, of all places, about this new practice called forest bathing. This was a few years ago. And when I read the phrase forest bathing, it instantly resonated with me. I know some people hear it and they wonder, what is that? Is it bringing your tub out to the woods, or, are you going to get naked? People have different associations. For me, I just really got it the minute I heard about it, that this is full immersion in the beauty and wonder of nature. And there's an organization in California that trains forest therapy guides. And I trained with them, and In 2016, I was the first certified forest therapy guide in Washington. And I use the phrases forest therapy and forest bathing interchangeably. They're pretty much synonymous. Now we've got over 30 guides in our area. 2 of them are medical doctors. It's just such a popular thing. And it's something that people take to so easily. You know, what amazes me is sometimes I worry, is this a little too new agey or loosey-goosey for, you know, more conservative people? I've never had anybody on a walk not feel comfortable and take to it right away. Wow. And so, you know, I do lead guided walks. They're now mostly virtual, but this is something you can do on your own. You don't need a guide. And if you'd like me to go through the steps of it, I'd be very happy to.
Yeah, I'd love to. But before that, can you just tell us, like, what are some of the benefits, like in general?
Yeah. Oh, there's so many benefits. And they've been studied. They've been studied by medical researchers around the world. So the physical health benefits of spending quiet time in nature include lower blood pressure, lower levels of cortisol, which is a hormone that in high levels can indicate stress, a boost to your immune system. When we breathe in air, especially when we're around trees, we're breathing in these, not only are we breathing in the fresh oxygen that the trees are emitting, but we're breathing in these compounds called phytoncides, which trees and other plants release in order to protect themselves from pathogens. And it turns out a Japanese researcher, Dr. Lee at Nippon Medical School, has shown how, in Japan, has shown how when we breathe these phytoncides in, it boosts our own immune system. So those are the physical health benefits. Wow. I think now, yeah, I mean, it's really remarkable. Yeah, and there are more and more studies done all the time. And these are done by, reputable medical organizations all over the world. And then I think the mental health benefits, especially with what we're going through now with COVID and all the craziness that we've dealt with in the past few months, the mental health benefits include relaxation, a decrease in ruminative thinking. And ruminative thinking is when you just turn something over in your mind, it's like a negative thought pattern and you're not solving a problem or really getting anywhere. You're just turning it over and over. When you go out in nature, it's very easy to let go of that circular negative ruminative thought pattern. And there was a study at Stanford that showed that. They had 2 groups. One walked in a natural area and one walked in a very urban area. And the people who were around trees and other plants got much more relief from ruminative thinking. It elevates your mood to be out in nature. I mean, this is something that anybody who spends time in nature knows intuitively and doesn't need medical research to show that. But I think for people who may not turn to nature automatically as a form of comfort and joy and solace, knowing that the medical research shows that you're going to have elevated mood when you're in nature is really a good thing. And better sleep, relaxation and better sleep. So there, those are just some of the things that have been studied. But, a lot of the benefits of being in nature, especially the spiritual benefits, are harder to study. Although now some researchers are studying the experience of awe. You may have run across some of this research yourself in your field, that when people feel awe, when they feel that experience of awe, where you're just feeling so reverent, that increases overall happiness over time. And that's being studied.
That. I absolutely love that. I wanted to ask you, I know, like, obviously you don't want to be in an urban area, but are there some more preferred places? Like, is it better? Obviously you want to be more of in the forest, but if you're like in a garden or, walking through maybe just a few trees, do you still get the benefits?
Absolutely. And you can be in an urban area and forest bathe. I urge everybody to find what I call a wild home, which is a place very near where you live. It can be your backyard, it can just be your porch or balcony, or it can be a neighborhood park or garden. and adopt it as your wild home and go and visit as often as you can. And then you get to know this place. You form a relationship with it, very much like a relationship that you have with a person, where you get to know the place in all its moods, all its seasons, all times of day, all times of year. And it's very, very rewarding, very much like a relationship with somebody that you love. So you can forest bathe anywhere. And in fact, could I read something from my book to give you an idea of where you can forest bathe in the city? This is my book, Resilience, Connecting with Nature in a Time of Crisis. And I wrote this book earlier this year, and I interviewed a lot of my friends around the country who love nature, to find out how they were connecting with nature during this time. And this is my friend Sadie Dingfelder. She is a writer. You may know her byline from the Washington Post. I have a newfound appreciation for my tiny porch. I live on the 10th floor of an apartment building in DC's most densely populated neighborhood. And I've discovered a patch of urban wilderness I never knew existed right outside of my sliding glass doors. I write every morning looking through them, and I've made the acquaintance of a pair of dark-colored pigeons, both of whom have a few wing feathers that are pure white. When I'm on the occasional grocery run, I sometimes see that they too are out and about in the neighborhood.
Oh, I love that.
So, yeah. So, I mean, in Montgomery County, we are so blessed with so many beautiful parks and tree-lined neighborhoods that, we have plenty of places to forest bathe. But even if you're on the 10th floor of an apartment building in DC, you can forest bathe.
That's
and make friends.
That's a really good tip, and I think that a lot of people could really benefit from that. So I wanted to ask you about the seasons, of noticing the seasons. But are there times when it's better to, to go out and to really forest bathe? Like what happens in the winter when there's snow and ice? Can you tell me about that for forest bathing?
That's a great question. And before I answer it, I have to say, as a disclaimer, I grew up in Vermont. Okay. So I'm used to cold weather. Have you ever heard the saying, Nira, there's no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothes?
I just recently have, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, it's a great saying. And I think, with winter weather, if you can have warm clothes, if you can bundle up and go out in the winter. I mean, growing up in Vermont, we went out all winter long. It didn't matter how cold it was or how much snow we were getting. We were outside playing. And, and adults can go outside and play too. And I just encourage people, a lot of people have developed a habit of walking, during COVID, walking in their neighborhoods, spending a lot of time outdoors. I mean, we're told that it's much less likely that you're going to catch the virus when you're outdoors. There are a lot of parks that have nice wide trails so you can keep socially distanced on the trails. And I just encourage everyone to do that all year long. Don't stop in the winter. I mean, it's good for your health and it's good for your physical and mental health to spend as much time outside as you can.
Yeah.
And doing, if there are things you love to do outside, just keep doing them. Keep doing them when it's cold.
And is it better to do this a certain time of day? Like, is noon better than let's say before sunset? Does that matter?
You ask such great questions. No, I mean, I think it's great to go out at all times of day. Maybe mix it up a little bit. I encourage people, if you only have 20 minutes to go outside during the day, just to sit in your backyard, to go visit a park. If you only have 20 minutes, do it. You'll get such benefits from it. And even the health research shows that you will. Go all times of day. The sunset is magical. Twilight time, sunset, sunrise. If you're an early riser, the sunrise is beautiful. And at night, if you feel safe going outside at night to look at the moon and the stars, our skies are a lot clearer now, and you can see the stars so much better than we ever could.
That's so
And
true. So Melanie, I want to hear more. We just need to take a break. I really appreciate you being here, and we're going to get more information from Melanie all about forest bathing when we return after our short break. So Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy. So stay tuned.
Dad?
Just 1 minute, okay?
Hey, Bobo, do trees tell each other stories?
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I don't know that.
Hey, why don't we go find out? Listen.
Do clouds take naps?
I couldn't tell you.
Can birds draw pictures?
I don't have an answer for that.
Dad, do stars visit their friends?
Look!
Welcome back. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy. And we're going to continue speaking with Melanie, and she's going to give us a lot more information of how to do forest bathing. Like, what are the steps that we need to take? So Melanie, would you mind just giving us that information?
absolutely, Nira. So on a forest bathing walk, I mean, anytime that you can just go outside, find a comfortable place to sit or lie on the ground or stand, whatever you're comfortable with, and just take some deep breaths, some slow, deep breaths, and then start to tune into everything around you with all your senses. And there are kind of 3 basic steps on a forest bathing walk. And when we lead guided walks, this is how we do it, but you can do it on your own very easily. You can do it either alone or with, a couple of other people. So the first thing you want to do is you want to unplug. So you want to disengage, turn off your devices, disengage from the news of the day, forget about your to-do list. And that in itself is very therapeutic. And then find a place, I mentioned the idea of a wild home, which I just love that idea, that it's someplace very easy for you to visit and get comfortable. And then just do some deep breathing, just breathe very slowly, let your belly expand as you breathe in and then breathe out. And when you're breathing out in nature, that your breath connects you to all the living things around you. And then you can take turns with your senses, tuning in with different senses. So one thing as guides that we love to do at the beginning of a walk is to ask people to notice what's in motion. And that sounds like such a simple thing, and it is. But it's a powerful mindfulness exercise. When you either sit or slowly walk and just focus on what's in motion, it's a wonderful thing. And then focus on the sounds. If you're anywhere near running water, an exercise I learned, I have been to Japan on a forest bathing trip. So I've gone on walks with guides in Japan, and I learned this really cool trick up in the Japanese Alps from one of the guides. If you stand with your back to flowing water, and it can be a stream or a river, the ocean, or it can just be a fountain, and you close your eyes and you cup your ears in the front, and the water just fills your soul, the sound of the water. Try it. It's just like magic. That's a really fun thing to do for hearing. And then smells, smells are so powerful. They bring back all kinds of memories. And when we smell, smell the fragrances coming up from the earth and from the trees around us, that's really good for our health. So focus on smell, and flowers smell good, but so do leaves and twigs and bark and, everything in nature. Well, not everything in nature smells good, but probably most of the things you will encounter. And then one of the things I love to do, and I include this on every forest bathing walk, is imagine that you're a child. Just imagine you're a child. And you can probably remember a lot of fun times as a kid out in nature, and just spend a few minutes being that child. I think that's one of the most favorite we call them invitations on walks, and that's people's favorite. And then you want to, at the close of your walk, after you've really tuned in with all your senses and connected with the place you're in, oh, you want to commune with a tree. That's really important. Trees are, trees have mystical powers. I don't know how else to say it. And they are incredibly comforting now when we're feeling so much uncertainty and anxiety, to wrap your arms around a big old tree that's been there for over 100 years. Is one of the most comforting things you can do. If you're not a tree hugger by nature, just sit under the tree or stand under the tree, touch the bark, climb the tree, whatever you're comfortable with. Connect with a tree if you can on your walk. And then at the close, you kind of want to transition back to your daily life. So on walks, we always serve tea and snacks and share poetry. And we also share, and you can think about this at the close of your forest bathing walk that you do on your own. What am I going to take back from this experience to my daily life? Because you're going to go back to your to-do list and to the news of the day and everything in your life. What have you gained during this forest bathing time that you can bring back with you? So that's really important to have that transition at the end. And it's a simple thing. And then you can just forest bathe wherever you are. I mean, when I walk to my car, I'm looking at the acorns, and there's a toad that lives near our front door that we talk to, my husband and I. You can just connect with nature at any moment during the day, and it will be a comforting experience.
Wow, so that sounds like something really easy that anybody can do. We can all do it, and I really appreciate you giving us those steps and what to think about as well. And I know you mentioned, I know you have a book about Theodore Roosevelt Island. What other areas do you recommend that are like really prime spots in this area?
Well, it's an embarrassment of riches in our area when it comes to parks and gardens. In Montgomery County, I mean, first of all, you've got the Potomac River and Great Falls, and then Rachel Carson Park, Wheaton Regional Park, Brookside Gardens, Dickerson Conservation Park. The Montgomery County is just filled with incredible parkland. And then right on the border of Montgomery County is Sugarloaf Mountain. It's an easy drive out to Sugarloaf for almost anybody who lives in our area. And then, I now live near Rock Creek Park, and I spend every moment I can there. I consider that my wild home now.
What about people that live near the ocean and may not, have the forested areas?
Beach bathing is even better. You can use these techniques on the beach. You can use it, just use the sound, you just turn your back to the waves and cup your hands in the front and close your eyes. Another thing, I didn't mention touch, but, it's wonderful to pick up stones and pine cones and, to touch. And at the beach, you have so many wonderful things to touch. You can pick up shells and stones and just tune into all those wonderful textures, tune into the way the light is playing on the water, the way the sand feels beneath your feet. I mean, there are all kinds of things you can do when you're at the ocean.
Thank you for all that. That sounds very easy and doable, and we can do all seasons and everywhere. And so if somebody wanted to get more information, and how would they be able to reach you? Can you give us your website?
Yeah, so I have a website that is just my name, basically. It's www.melaniechoukas-bradley.com. It's kind of a mouthful, but if you just do a Google search of my name, it will pop up. And I have my events posted. I have, each season I post events for the season. And most of my forest bathing walks I'm doing virtually. But those can be really fun too. I mean, with those, we don't unplug because that's how we communicate with each other. And I've done them both visual, Zoom visual and Zoom audio.
Wow, that's so wonderful that we have this available to us, and that you're available, and we can learn so much just from being out in nature. So I thank you so much for being my guest today. We learned a lot, and I hope, and so thank you, Melanie. I hope you all stay tuned for the next segment of our show of Good to Know, where I've always got something good to share with you. I'm Nira Berry, your host of Happy and Healthy, so stay tuned.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool.
To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Hi, I'm Nira Berry, life and happiness coach, motivational speaker, and your host of Happy and Healthy. And now it's time for Good to Know. And as part of my series on success and work and life during these COVID-19 times, today I'm going to give you a gift that will help you discover your gifts and maybe, just maybe, help ease the tough times many of us are going through. And really, any time that you need a lift. So what gifts, you may ask? Well, these gifts are generally found right under your noses. They may not be apparent to you right off the bat, but let's see if you've noticed any of the following. For instance, how many of you have taken up walking these days? I know so many people that never would even think about taking a walk outside. And now, since COVID started, they walk everywhere. This gift of improved health and reduced stress levels and just basically gives you a better overall sense of wellness. And speaking of walking, how many of you discovered nature? Usage of the parks, nature walkways, and hiking has increased tremendously recently. And the true gift is really appreciating these parks that many of you have just recently discovered, and really taking the time to notice the trees, the creeks, the colors of the leaves. These are all nature's gifts. And as we know, being in nature is always a healthy alternative to doing anything, because it's really a de-stressor. So how about those of you who could never make it to any exercise class or gym, because of the scheduling or maybe driving there? And now you can get anything online, since you can get Qigong classes to ballet classes to anything and really interact. And it's really amazing. And many of these classes are free. And so this is a really big bonus to our health. And really you could do it with your family and friends, or just do it anytime on your own time. And speaking of time, how many of you have discovered your inner chef? And I know many of you have even connected or met people for the first time, like your neighbors. How many of you have actually just recently started talking to your neighbors? How wonderful is that? Now, all these gifts of being close with your family and spending time with them, even spending time on Zoom. How wonderful is that? And really think about how much you can really appreciate it. And what about Zoom? I mean, aren't we lucky that we have this technology available to us? So my point is that the true gift is when you take the time to appreciate these things, these little things in life. Sure, there's a crazy world out there, but noticing these new gifts, whatever they may be, is the gift. So think about these gifts and let me know if this newfound appreciation has helped you feel a bit better and helped you cope with your day. You can reach me, Nira Berry, the happiness coach, at info@niraberry.com. Thanks for watching Happy and Healthy. I'm Nira Berry, your host, and I hope you have a happy day.